Atlassian's cloud migration strategy underway and many businesses across the globe making the move to the cloud. We're going to delve into the support offerings available for cloud deployments and which one's right for you, maximizing the support you get from Atlassian. When managing a portfolio of applications like Atlassian, choosing the right support option often presents a strategic dilemma. Do you need enhanced SLAs for your team? How can you escalate issues? Which channels do you use to reach out for help? In this fireside chat, myself, Paul Renshaw, and Jake Churcher are going to compare Atlassian support options. Right, Jake, so at the moment, moving to Atlassian Cloud, or the SaaS option in the Atlassian ecosystem, is a huge area of focus for Atlassian partners. It's definitely top of the agenda for anyone who has responsibility or cares about the Atlassian apps in their business. So let's explore what happens if a customer chooses that option. We're anticipating 80 to 90% of the Atlassian community is going to end up there by 2024. So there's some answers. Obviously, things change. SaaS is different to on-prem. Even a Jira admin's role could potentially change with a move to Atlassian SaaS. So I'm going to really just drill you on a few different questions to see if we can help people who are listening. So let's start.
Sure.
So Jake, firstly, tell me the importance of having a support agreement in place. Let's start there.
So I think gone are the days when support from a vendor is just an insurance policy. It's more about the people in organizations getting the help they need at the time they need it. So it might be support with a particular vendor like Atlassian where they need a workflow change, or they have an incident they can't deal with, or no one can authenticate, for example. This is why these application support teams, service desk teams, or IT teams at the organizations need someone to escalate an issue to. They might not have the knowledge to deal with, some of the things that go on in the Atlassian world, so they can escalate to the vendor. And that's where the Atlassian support plans come into play. And there's a few options which we'll go into later, what they offer, depending on the plan you go for and the features you go for with your plan.
So is there almost like a mind shift or a definition shift that takes place when somebody moves from on-prem, almost traditional IT to SaaS-based products? If you could just expand on even the word support changes, I suppose.
Yeah, it does, definitely. So when you're on server or behind your own firewall and hosting the instance yourself, support was something you'd buy through a third party, or you'd have an Atlassian TAM, or you'd have their premier support offering that they do separately. Now, as Atlassian is changing and they have a cloud first mentality and they're trying to get everyone to migrate to the cloud, the support options are included depending on which plan you go for, which is then sort of thought about by the features that you need in the application, what your developers and users are doing. And that's kind of how it's decided. But yeah, historically, I think that people were mainly, instead of using the SaaS vendor themselves, they were getting support from third-party vendors, which is definitely still apparent in the cloud world because there can be limitations.
Okay, so let's dig into what is included in the various levels of Atlassian Cloud or Atlassian SaaS, which you can use interchangeably. It's the same thing. So what options are available to a customer who starts a Jira software, Atlassian Cloud trial or a full license tomorrow?
So I think, if you're on server at the moment and you've got a behind the firewall instance and you're looking at migrating over to cloud, the first thing you need to decide, even before you start looking at support, is the plans compared. So your free tier, your standard tier, your premium, and your enterprise. And it's things like the infrastructure, data residency, Atlassian Access, whether you need audit logs or not, how much storage you need. So this is all determined, and this is the first step you sort of need to take. Once you've decided which plan you want to go for, you've looked at your user tiers, the storage, the audit logs, etc., and the kind of features that you need within your product and user base. You can then look at the type of support that comes with the free, standard, premium, and enterprise plans. Now, I can go into a lot of detail on how they compare, but at a high level, It's to do with the availability of the support you need, whether it's 9 to 5 regional, 24/7, and the channels of support like phone support and a dedicated senior support team. So standard is 9 to 5 regional, premium is 24/7 with more enhanced SLAs, and the enterprise is 24/7 for all issues. You get a dedicated senior support team, and telephone support is included in that one as well.
Right. And then what trends are you seeing in the, the 400 to 500 Clearvision customers in terms of the options they're looking at with the cloud?
So I think a lot of them, based on the ones we've spoken to and the customer success chats that we've had with the clients, when they migrate to cloud, they tend to go for the premium version. And this isn't specifically for the support. This is more around the features of the premium tier. And then what they tend to do is have a look at premium and whether the support plan that comes with premium, whether it aligns with what they need as a business. So, level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 issues logged. How long is it going to take for Atlassian to get back to them? Does that suit them in terms of SLA? What hours of coverage have they got? The support entitlements, do they need telephone support? So, for example, if you were on the standard plan, which quite a few of our customers are, there might be a slight gap in the type of support they get. That's when they'll look at a third party like Clearvision or another partner that can sort of do administration, mentoring, coaching, training, project rollouts on their behalf. That's kind of patching the gap between Atlassian's support and what the vendors can offer. So no matter what tier you go for, if it isn't quite enough, there are definitely options.
Okay. And then thinking about that again with helping customers choose the right cloud, is it that really when you're approaching which version of Atlassian cloud, generally we're talking premium, enterprise, if you want multiple clouds, normally landed on premium, is it look for the features first? So what are the features in the application that are right for your business? And then analyze the support that comes with it. And then look if there is a gap, speak to someone like a Clearvision or whoever who can then fill that gap. Is that really the recommendation?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one of the things you need to do whilst you're looking at the plans are things like the security, data residency, etc. But it's also about the features that you currently use in Servo if you're doing a migration. So you have to look at how you're using that and how that translates into your cloud plan, and then you would slot in. But then you've got other teams within your organization that will start looking at specific plans around the authentication, Atlassian Access, the data residency, how much storage you have. So for example, the standard tier is 250 gig storage, premium and enterprise are unlimited. And then standard tier, you look at the users and how many users you've got, what are you licensed for? So standard is up to 10,000 users, premium then goes to 20,000. Same with enterprise. So yeah, there are a lot of different things to look at. And then when you look at the support that comes with your plan, once you've decided what's right for your user base, you can then decide whether you need anything additional. And a lot of the time we find that our clients need a more hands-on approach. So they want to be able to have contacts within their service desk teams that can escalate to a third party like Clearvision, where they're more hands-on, they do the administration for them, they can offer mentoring and coaching around it. And I think that's where the value is really added there.
Cool, thank you. And just, I suppose, a question which I think comes up a lot, so I think it's worth us covering actually, is what is the user management system access? Why does it exist? It's included in some of the clouds, it's not in the others, can be a little bit of a gotcha for newer customers. So why don't you just give a quick description on what it's there and why it exists?
Yeah, so what Atlassian Access does is provide enhanced data security and governance for the Atlassian applications, whether it's Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket. It's an identity and access management system that allows administrators to control the user's authentication. So if you're using a third-party identity provider like Azure AD, Okta, Ping Federate, etc., they can log in from those identity providers through Atlassian Access. So it basically empowers the organizations to add enterprise levels of authentication that they've probably already got on site and synchronize it with their Atlassian tools. So it's definitely a consideration and a recommendation, actually, of best practices, especially when you've got multiple organizations that you're managing within the Atlassian suite.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that more. The second you're up to a few hundred users, you should definitely be thinking about having Atlassian Access to help for all the reasons Jake just said. Right, so let's have a little look about, I want to put these different scenarios to you, actually. So we've got customers often fall into certain brackets. One is that all of them in some way, Atlassian is a strategic application in the business, whether you're an enterprise or whether you're a small, more nimble organization. But often companies fall into this category. One, they're using Atlassian products strategically, be it Jira, Confluence, JSM, and in-house they have a Jira person, often referred to as, or an Atlassian person. So it's normally a person. They've sometimes grown up with the tool, so they are the fountain of knowledge in the business. But as the product is more strategic, their time just gets either taken up or they don't get to concentrate on strategic work themselves, and they are really under the cosh, so to speak. What in that scenario, which we visit quite a lot, where does the Atlassian support included in cloud, and where does the Clearvision support help a person in that scenario?
So, yeah, a lot of organizations have either a service desk team or a product champion as such when it comes to looking after the Atlassian tools. The product champion is usually a software development manager, a product owner, and they manage the Atlassian tools as a hobby. So they don't actually, it's not their full-time job, they just kind of do it on the side. And that's where I think a lot of our customers have raised a challenge where they want to be able to hand this off to someone else, which is why we have an offering for administration support and a new product called Total Support. And the first place they look is when they have, a resource issue internally, and they want to be able to support their Atlassian tools efficiently, they look at hiring someone. But actually, organizations don't need to hire expensive resources in order to manage the Atlassian apps. So we have Atlassian experts that configure, administer, and support the Atlassian apps for you. So we can cover that under configuration, optimization, training, coaching, and mentoring, support, administration, solution design, and best practices. And that's something we bundle up. With the Atlassian cloud plans, obviously they come with the license fee that you pay, either monthly or annually. So you have already got support there, but it doesn't quite go to the extent of what a third party can offer, like Clearvision. So even in their terms on the page, they say we have some, if there's anything unsupported, we have our list of partners here that will be able to help you with a bespoke support package. They offer guidance and support around implementation and configuration. They offer integration support. So their support is great if you want to sort of QA or knowledge base answers and guidance around the applications. But if you need someone to do the work for you, get stuck in, do the administration, that's really where these internal support teams can use a third party as an extension. So that's essentially what we offer under the Total Support wrap. Right. It's an extension to the internal support teams to help them and take the pain away from them having to manage these Atlassian applications. I just said a lot, but there we go.
Very good. So in that scenario, what we're saying is in the scenario where you have a Jira admin type role or an Atlassian admin, but that person is either a hobbyist, in the loosest term, or doing it in their spare time, the additional support from a partner is actually more practical than the support that comes with the tool. because
Totally.
moving to the cloud removes quite a lot of the responsibilities, I suppose, keeping the tool alive, making sure it doesn't fall over, is it up to date? The beauty of SaaS is you get that all taken away. And where I'm sort of coming at this is, where do partners fit in that scenario? The answer is maybe not in that scenario, or we hear this quite a lot, trying to keep bright technical people motivated isn't about them doing admin tasks all day. It's about them doing the strategic work, who they quite rightly will have the experience to do and certainly enough insight to do. So what we found in that second scenario, enterprise client, good internal team, they know the tools inside and out. What they're coming to partners like Clearvision and saying is, right, can you take the admin away from this team? Because I want them to be strategic. My Atlassian support that comes with cloud is great. It means I've got somewhere to go to like never before. But changing, adding custom fields and workflows, to be honest, it's boring my team. So I think that's potentially where a Clearvision or whoever can step in and take away the almost low level work. It's really cost effective. It really is a few $1,000s a month to cover that sort of stuff. And I think really the message to people who lead teams like this is work out who those superstars are in that administration team. Can you make them more strategic? And can you replace some of their duties in a more cost-effective manner whilst moving to the cloud and getting all the benefits that come with that support? Do you see what I mean? I think that scenario we're seeing more and more. I think that's one that's worth exploring, not only with Jake's experience in his product, but also from running a team like that. So that's almost the two categories of customer that we deal with, isn't it? Fall into one or the other. A third scenario that is worth touching on, which is you have no Atlassian owner in your business, but you've got a number of hundreds of users using these products every day. In that scenario, that's not even someone doing it as a hobbyist. That's almost someone doing it at night. This is, in that scenario, moving to the cloud is so practical. It really is. Take away running servers, move there, and then use a partner to fulfill that role. Don't go employ someone on X amount of thousands of dollars a year if you're in that scenario where you actually have no internal leader or internal owner of Atlassian.
Yeah, you just don't need to, put in that investment, to be honest, when you can, outsource a lot of it to a third party like Clearvision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So if we're talking, let's switch gears a bit, talk about customers who are on data center, are on server. There's still, many customers in that scenario. They might have their eyes on cloud, but that might be 2024. What the word support around those scenarios? What's the difference if you're behind the firewall?
Atlassian offer premier support to their clients. So that's server and data center account-wide coverage. They get 24/7 phone support, screen sharing, collaboration, weekend coverage, etc. And Clearvision do an alternative offering to that, which is for server and data center. But our products sort of cover the whole lot. So whether it's cloud, server, or data center, we can offer support for all three under one support contract. But in terms of what additional value is delivered for server and data center support, it's the break fix, root cause analysis, mission critical coverage, assistance when there is an incident if the application was to go down. It's every sysadmin's worst nightmare. If they haven't got anyone to depend on, this is where Clearvision really can add value and support people. And it's guidance around the implementation, configuration, and that kind of thing. So with our support, again, we can offer the application support and guidance on the front end as well. So if there is a workflow change, or you've got a project that's not quite doing what it should be doing, screen changes, issue type changes, adding custom fields. Yeah, so I think for the server and data center stuff, there is definitely added value in terms of making sure it's up and running, and in a mission critical situation, that's where we can really help.
Yeah, lovely. And then in terms of maybe thinking about questions that someone watching this video should think about. So they're, been using Atlassian for a few years. It's mission critical, like all customers. You've got a number of the products. You've got interest in other teams. We know that growth is always large in Atlassian customer base. What are the questions that the either decision maker or leader should be thinking about in terms of their plan over the next couple of years?
So, I mean, they should really start planning now. I think that's the first thing I'll say is if you are on server, it's end of life in February 2024. So a plan for a migration does need to be discussed and written out. And that's something we can obviously help with. But I would say a lot of the starting points with organizations is the features. What are we doing in server at the moment that we can then translate to cloud, and how does it differ? Are my add-ons supported? And then again, what support options are there when I go to standard Premier or Enterprise? And another key consideration is, the information security teams at these organizations will look at the data residency, the storage, encryption at rest, encryption in transit, and how that slots in with their compliance and regulations that they have internally. So there are definitely some considerations that need to be thought about. And they also translate into the plan you go for, because there's different options for each plan.
Yeah, and then there's also the idea of, are you going to go to a centralization model versus federated cloud? And Atlassian have thought about that, which is what the enterprise model is, the ability to have multiple clouds under one account. And also the big thing which we always talk about with all customers is you don't necessarily have to replicate what you've got now in the future. It's not very often, in our IT careers where we're given a time and space to redraw the future as we want to see it. So for any leaders out there, anyone whose responsibility this is, use that blank sheet of paper strategically to plan your future. We all know how practical these tools are. We know how applicable they are. We know we use them in IT and dev and business. We can use them everywhere. So let's think about the dream scenario. God forbid, just recreating your old world from 5 years ago is not the way to go. And as you know, with the packages, you can easily step up. You can start on a standard cloud, can't you, in a team, and then you can go to the premium, and then if you end up going federate, go to enterprise. So just use the different options available to plan that future, and then fit the tools into the plan.
Definitely.
The things we'd say.
Yeah, I think one of the common mistakes that is made, or assumptions by people migrating to the cloud, is that they have to move everything. They want a lift and shift, and they kind of have this oversight that it's going to be really complicated because they've got so much data and configuration. But actually what they should be doing is an optimize and shift. So archiving all of the old projects that they don't use, issues that haven't been looked at for the last 5 years, and making it lean enough to work differently in cloud, so that it's optimized for use for all of their users.
Yeah, and I think if we're to bring it backward to the word support again, I'm hearing the word support used far more to describe different types of services that companies provide. It's funny because the IT support in its most traditional sense is what you describe, someone behind the firewall. Has it fallen over? Is it up to date? All that really kind of almost a little bit old school IT now, as everybody moves to SaaS. So now it should be about what assistance, if we use that word, does your organization need during this transition? We're certainly doing a lot of work, if you were to think of a graph where the support assistance is a lot, and as you settle into using the tools, it dips off again. So that idea of managing the peaks and troughs of your business by utilizing a partner is a really inexpensive and efficient way to support programs of work. It's not like I need a team of 5 people, I need to employ them on a contract forever. Let's be really practical about it, especially with the Atlassian community that now exists. Lots of independent contractors available, lots of partners. We're all really experienced now. We're 12, 13 years into the Atlassian journey. So I think for customers, it's not about doing it on your own. It's about getting the advice. And that doesn't mean spending millions of dollars at all. It really doesn't. It's about getting the advice at the right time. And these are all the questions that you should be asking yourself today. If this is your responsibility, you should have in your mind's eye the end of June 2022 as a key date for certainly the special offers that are around for Atlassian customers, and then planning accordingly. Are you going to make a big strategic move by June, at least the decision, or are you actually going to make the decision from June this year until next year? They're the two big dates I'd have in mind as well if I was responsible for these tools.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, sometimes you mentioned the word support there, and I see it as the new world of support and the old world, the old world being your internal IT fixes, support, break fix stuff. Whereas when people want support now, they just want help. They want assistance.
Yeah.
That is the definition of it. Whether it's mentoring, training, coaching, administration, it's just kind of a blanket word of support. They need help. And yeah, that's definitely where we can come in and assist people with that.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days where the email server's fallen over, so you didn't have to do any work for the morning.
Yeah, give the Exchange server a kick.
But amazingly, there's a lot of the Atlassian world which we work in and deal with. We've transitioned to the cloud ourselves. That's what we're trying to take people away from. Stop doing that stuff. Let Atlassian do it. Give yourself the time to strategically plan on the tool, but don't think that you need to have an internal team that's up to date on everything that's new in the Atlassian ecosystem. The beauty of SaaS can be a pain. New features, new functionality, what's changed. Let someone else be the expert, because that's their full-time job, and just utilize them when you need them. Pick them up, put them down, pick them up, put them down. We did exactly the same thing in Clearvision with Salesforce. You don't need a full-time Salesforce wizard. We employ someone externally, they help set it up, and we just use them on a contract basis when we need them. As a sales leader, exceptionally practical way to run my key application. For a development or an IT manager or a team in the enterprise, you should absolutely think of it that way. Hence us really wanting to change the support or the assistance we now offer, because we think the new world is different. And I think we've clearly discussed that today, and hopefully that resonates with people listening, that they recognise that they need to think about things slightly different when they move to the cloud, and change the relationships they have with partners and vendors to be more of a partnership.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, people shouldn't be afraid to reach out. Even if they just want a conversation on what the most strategic direction is for their Atlassian tools, what they want to do next, and the support they have afterwards that's ongoing. There's no commitment in talking to us. We can definitely give advice on what the best thing to do is.
Yeah, and we've always believed at Clearvision in putting our best people in front of customers early. Solution architects, experienced pre-sales, technical managers, for that view of the world. The nature of the Atlassian ecosystem, again, is every vertical is covered. It's not a vertically aligned solution. You could be in any industry and you'll have the same challenges. You'll want to use the tools in slightly different ways, but we will have met people in your vertical before and give you advice, our advice, where we've seen it before. The tools and the information available via the Atlassian website and the partner community now are so good. There's loads of practical examples and advice, but we're all humans. So there's nothing like having a good old chat. And that's a great way of, in half an hour, of getting a real feel, or even testing what you're thinking. As leaders, especially, post the last couple of years we've all felt a little bit insular. So practically meeting somebody and saying, this is what I've been umming and ahhing about for the last 18 months. What do you think? I'll tell you what, our solution architects will always tell you the truth. Sure you
Definitely. Yeah.